Hello, lovely people. Let me show you something cool that Adam sent me. So if you were watching my previous videos, you saw that I am measuring amplifiers and DSPs with the Focusrite audio interface. Now, for the amplifiers, it's plenty enough because the THD is like way below. The Focusrite has a lower THD than the amplifiers. However, for DSPs, and the thing is, like now, I received the Helix DSP Pro Mark III, which I know is gonna measure very, very good, and I have that Alpine 0850X that I know is gonna measure good as well. So I know that potentially I could bottom out the Focusrite, and I needed something better. So Adam Daniels, if you don't know him, find on Facebook Fanta Orange Corsa. It's his car build, and he's a European champion or vice champion in EMA. Follow him because he's a cool guy. So he has all of these, and he lent me everything just for testing because this is much better than I have. So Adam as well made some leads for me. So he wanted to test all of this by himself, but he didn't have the time. So he made like this is for like loop back because you have one for the input and the second for the loop back, just to measure all of these harmonics because you need loop back for the harmonics. So he made this cable, he made this one as well, just a single ended with an RCA. And yeah, I think it's gonna be plenty enough for me to test. So for the source, what we have is a Topping D10S, which is an amazing audio source that has all the outputs. So it has RCA outputs, it has optical, and it has coax. The RCA output is up to 2 volts, and we know that the Focusrite is 1 volt unbalanced and 2 volts, up to 2 volts balanced. However, this is just an easy RCA connection, which is amazing. So I have up to 2 volts of input. I will need to crank up the amplifier gain a little bit, but it's still much better. Now this thing, it comes in a box like this, which is E1DA from Cosmos, very unfamiliar brand. And basically what this is, it's an AD converter. So it takes the analog signal and it converts to digital. And this one has a very, very, very high quality AD converter and has very little noise and does a job like, I want to say perfect, but yeah. So this one, the topping is quite cheap. It's like £100 or something. This one, I think Adam bought it for like 250 euros or something like that, maybe 300 euros. But this is a very, very cool little thing. So this one, basically, this gives me the output, and this one is measuring everything. It takes, like here in the front, let me show you, it takes up to 10 volts RMS. However, the sensitivity, instead of like the dial knob that you have on the interface on the Focusrite, you have these pins, and with these pins you can adjust 2, 3, 3.5, 4.5, up to 10 volts. So when I was measuring this DAC, which gives me up to 2 volts out, I put it on the second, which gives me sensitivity of 2.7 volts. So it's not gradually adjusting, but you can match it to whatever you want. So when I will be testing, for example, the Helix, because I know it's gonna give me up to 8 volts out, I will be putting this on 8.5. The Alpine, I think it gives like 2.5 volts or something, so I will be setting to 3.5 just to have less gain in this, so potentially have less noise. Now the main question is how it performs. And I have here some measurements, very, very basic measurements, just for comparison. One thing I forgot to mention. With all of this, Adam sent me this one as well. So this is, I'm going to remove it. It's a thing like this. And this is like a power supply isolates or something. So it goes on the USB cable that goes from the laptop into the DAC. You plug it in, and then the output, you plug it into the DAC. So basically it cleans the power that is going into the DAC. So I have one measurement here, which is this is the floor noise compared with this thing and without the thing. So without the thing is the green line, and with this thing is the blue line. And you can clearly see how much, it's like 10-15 dB, how much it clears up the power supply. Like the floor noise goes way down. It's much cleaner. And with this, I'm gonna show you these few graphs. So this is THD versus frequency for the Focusrite. And we see it has very low THD, 0.02, maybe it higher, 0.03. If I measure this one with this one, I have THD versus frequency basically disappears. So instead of percentage, we need to go to dBr, and we have a 100 minus 100 dB. With Focusrite, we have minus 90 something, 91, 92. So basically, this setup gives me THD of like 8 up to 10 dB lower THD with this compared to the Focusrite. And if we take a look at THD versus level, the Focusrite performs best at like minus 1 dBFS, and it's like minus 93. And the topping and this one goes all the way minus 100 dB with minus 1 dBFS. So I know that with this one, I have close to 10 dB better measurements compared to the Focusrite. And this is going to be just perfect for measuring proper good DSPs such as Helix and the Alpine. And yeah, with this DAC, it's kind of cool because I have all the options, so I can measure the RCA output into the amplifier. I can measure coax output into digital input of the DSP, because all my proper DSPs has all of them, so I can compare. I have optical as well, so I will be able to compare the performance of the DSP using analog, using coax, and using optical, and we will see if there's a difference, and if there is a difference, how big a difference there is between all of these outputs and inputs in the DSP. Now, one thing that is kind of a bummer with REW is that, like, if you go to settings and you want to use this, so with a Focusrite, since it's a one device for input and output, I could choose ASIO drivers, which perform better. However, with ASIO drivers, you can use only one device. So if I choose ASIO drivers for the topping, well, ignore this error message because it's not connected. If I use this, I cannot use this one because I don't have an option to select this as an input source, because the input and output on ASIO drivers has to come from the same device. Since I'm using two devices and two USB ports, I'm forced to use Java drivers. And on Java, I can use one for the input, and I can use the other one for the output, and I can use the other one for the input. So I am limited to Java drivers instead of ASIO, and I know from testing the Focusrite that ASIO drivers perform better than Java. But even with that, this comparison that I did here was Focusrite on ASIO versus these both of them on Java. If you have an option, if you know an option how I could use both of these on ASIO, like the topping and this one, both on ASIO, please comment below, because I don't know. I didn't figure a way yet. I don't know how to do that. But so far, even on Java, I will get 10 dB better performance compared to the Focusrite. So yeah, let the testing begin. In the few upcoming videos, I will be testing the Helix DSP and the Alpine, and I will compare between them how they perform, because they're kind of in a similar price range. So it will be very interesting to see how they compare and how they perform. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one.